All right, this last one's gonna be a nice short video, okay? So, on this one, we're gonna evaluate piecewise at specific points, and then we're gonna calculate scatter plots and talk about R values and all that good stuff. So, on that first one, evaluate the piecewise at a specific point, and it asks you, what is f of 4? So f of 4, this is an x value. So it's saying when your x is equal to 4, what is your y value equal to? Question mark. So if you go to where x is 4, you have this point here, you have this point here. You need to make sure that you pick the solid point, not the open point. The open point, it's not defined there. So f of 4 is really -7. If it asks you, is this a function? Yes, this is a function because it doesn't have x repeating at any points. Now, like let's say that these were both closed circles like that. This would be not a function anymore because it wouldn't pass the vertical line test. It would hit that, it would hit 2 separate points at 2 different places. All right, if you're given an equation and it asks for a specific point, it wants when f is f of -4. So if you look up here, -4, we have in 2 spots, but this is the one that's included, which means we need to use this equation. So you're looking for a negative absolute value of -4. Well, the absolute value of -4 is +4, but we want the negative of that, so you end up getting just -4 as your answer. If it had wanted -10, well, then you would use that equation. If it had wanted +3, then you would use this equation. So use those domain restrictions to help you pick which one you use. All right, next thing, give it a scatter plot. Determine if it's a positive, negative correlation, as well as the strength of that correlation. So when you're looking at this one, and you drew a line of best fit, like that. First of all, this is positive. If you tried to draw a line of best fit here, it would maybe be something like that. This would be negative. And if you drew one here, again, this would be like this. This would be negative. Now, the next part's talking about the strength. How close to that line is it? Do you see a very distinct line? Do you kind of see a line? Or is it just like dots are all over the place? So this first one is an example of a strong correlation. This is positive, this is strong. It is very close. This is an example of a weak correlation. These points are all over the place and nowhere close. And then this last one is an example of what like a moderate one would look like. So you can definitely see the shape, but they're not lined up on that shape very well. And then the last one right here is talking about interpreting the meaning of your R value. First of all, R values is only linear. If you're trying to figure out quadratic and anything after, anything after that, you want to use the R squared values. It's really not a huge difference, but it's because that R value is telling you positive, negative as well. So if you look at this first one, if you wanted to interpret the meaning of this, this would mean that there is a negative because it's a negative number, strong because this number is very close to 1, correlation. If you were looking at this next one, this R value, this would tell you it's a positive correlation, but this is a weak one. So remember, when you're thinking anything from like 0.0 to 0.5, that's weak. Anything from like 0.5 to like 0.8 or 0.7, that's your moderate. And anything from 0.8 to 1, that's when you're into your strong. You want it to be strong. Okay, so that's everything. I hope that helped you guys out. Remember for that test that you're really using that correlation coefficient to describe things. You want to use as much mathematical language as possible. So just take your time. You guys know what you're doing. Really study up on all the multiplicities and stuff. I think you're going to see that a lot. And you guys are going to do awesome.